We have with us, actually, my former boss, who I learned a lot from, Jungreis.
Jungreis is the founder and CEO of Rosewood Realty.
I knew I wanted to do something, whether I was going to be a rabbi, a leader, or if I could, succeed in whatever business.
If I know I'm going to succeed in something, why delay it?
How much have you closed over the entirety of your career to date?
I would say about 30 billion.
You're 50 plus years old.
I'm 53, man.
You don't need the money, that much is clear. What is driving you at this point to keep going?
I bet if you retired tomorrow and picked up guitar, you'd be touring with John Mayer in 10 years.
No, I like to sing.
A lot of people are scared to speak out the way you do.
If you're a Jew today, under 80, it's been the toughest month of your life.
What's between you and Kyrie?
I thought what he posted a year ago, it was pretty anti-Semitic.
What did he say to you? Everybody, welcome to another episode of Mislabeled. First of all, I want to thank everyone for watching. If you could be kind enough to subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. We're putting in a lot of work here. Okay, we have with us very, very special guest. Actually, my former boss, who I learned a lot from, Jungreis, head of Rosewood, founder of Rosewood, I should say,
sure.
And current CEO. First of all, Aaron, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank God, I'm doing well. The world is in a pretty crazy place right now.
I know.
And we were actually in Israel together, right? You were there on Sukkot with me.
Yes.
When October 7th happened. There's going to be two basic things just for anyone watching on this podcast. We're going to obviously be talking Israel, just given the fact that, as we'll get into, Aaron is an extremely proud Jew, as well as the fact that you can't not talk about Israel right now. It's just an important thing that's going on. But we're going to talk about Israel, and then, of course, we're going to get into real estate, which is a primary focus and what Aaron has been very, very successful with. Okay, first of all, Aaron, just give me a little background. What type of home did you grow up in?
I grew up, I would say, in a yeshiva home. Very open-minded, though. My parents were great people. My mom is still alive. My father passed away a few years ago, but they were very open-minded. They let every kid be who they want to be.
Got it. Was there a very strong sense of, Israeli pride, Jewish pride in your house? Was it was more
huge? My father went to Panovich, which was a famous yeshiva in Israel, and went to Yeshiva University, and also sang Hatikva. So he was that type, and with a beard and a hat. But he was a very unique individual.
Oh wow, it's actually a pretty fascinating combination.
Yeah.
So when you were there, first of all, just out of curiosity, how did you get out of Israel? You left the night of?
I left the night after. I had a flight to El Al. We had booked it already a month before. So.
That's very clutch. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. It took me 5 days to get back.
Wow.
Yeah, literally, I flew around the world. Zach was sitting here cozy in America, doing his thing. So you would say that your Jewish pride, how would you describe your love for the Jewish people? You're obviously very, very outspoken when it comes to, you go to rallies. You obviously had a very famous thing with the Kyrie Irving sitting courtside at the Nets game. Where did that strong passion come from?
Definitely came from my aunt, my uncle, my father, and my grandparents when they moved to Canarsie. They were originally from Europe. They opened up a yeshiva. It was a school that was very wide open to every type of Jew. Orthodox, not Orthodox. They didn't care about that. And the neighborhood wasn't like that. And they were very loving to everyone. So
this was your grandparents opened up?
My grandparents, yeah.
And very progressive. They opened up an all-denomination Jewish school.
Yeah. They just let everyone in. Anyone who was Jewish, they let them in. My grandfather had a long beard and payas. My grandmother, of course, wore her sheitel. But they were beautiful people, really special people.
I feel like this was the way it was in general more 30, 40 years ago, as opposed to now where it's much more just in general. Things have...
Yeah,
a little more segregated.
Yeah. My aunt is a famous speaker, Rebbetzin Esther Jungreis.
Yeah.
Everyone heard about her.
Oh,
she passed.
Oh,
I
didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know. Wait,
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Wait a second.
Jungreis. I was actually very close to her.
Okay.
Even though she's my aunt, we spoke a lot, and she was a great lady, and she loved every Jew. I mean, she really did. And that rubbed off on me. My father was like that. My uncle, who is still living today, is like that.
That's your aunt?
Yes.
That's so fun. I didn't grow up in a household that really, I didn't know who the big Jewish speakers were, but I knew about her. She has the same vibes. She was the closest thing that the Orthodox Jewish world had to a Princess Diana. Everyone
she was regal,
loved her. Royal.
Royalty.
Everyone loved her.
She was really and people also I always say when these things come up, especially now with women wanting more feminist rights in the firm world, etc. And they always push a certain type of way that they think it should be done. And I always ask, like, why can't it be done like Representative Jungreis? Like, why does it have to be done? Like, that was like an example to me of people that really, really respected her on like an extremely high level.
Well, you know, in our world, when like the Stipler passed away, right? You had Rev Kanievsky, Rev Elyashiv, you had all those men who kept on replacing each other as the Gadol Hadar, right? When my aunt passed away in Orthodoxy, there was no woman who has taken the mantle. There's no one even close to her.
It's so true.
So, yeah, she could fill a room. If she had an opinion, people would listen. Now, there's no one like her. So, no, she was very special.
What was it like when you went back to Israel? You were there last week, right?
I went last week. I went on a rally with the OU. It was, you know, we went to Israel to give the state a big hug. That's what it was, a big hug. Just visiting the soldiers, visiting women who, unfortunately, and men who lost their children.
Really?
Visiting people who didn't know if their children are living. In fact, we don't even know them today because they're hostages. Going to hospitals, visiting soldiers, army bases. We went to Hebron. We danced with them. We went to the place, unfortunately, where they identify the remains of soldiers.
The morgue?
You know, the DNA, where they actually have to check DNA to determine who is who.
Some of the stuff that I watched on that particular thing is obviously horrific. I mean,
that was
beyond
one of the most
comprehension.
brutal places because the people who were there, they were telling me that over 100 bodies they still haven't identified because they were burnt so badly.
And I read they may never ever be able
Yeah,
to.
they may not never. Sderot, where there was that famous firefight.
Police station?
Yeah, the police station. And just meeting, honestly, the people that we met were the most shocking people I've ever met. I've never met people like that. They're so resolute. They have such emunah. They're unbelievable. Really, they know it's either I'm staying here or I'm dying. So I'm staying.
Well, Israelis have a way. It doesn't make a difference, like we were saying before, religious or not. They have a.
Yeah, look, I think they would. You know, they would kill to live because we love life so much.
Yeah.
And the other side, unfortunately, lives to kill, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
No, it's very well
right?
said. Yeah, I mean, they're very, honestly, like I was just watching a video, not to get too deep into this, but I was watching a video of the Hamas founder. He was speaking, aside from the fact that he said he would do it again and again and again,
Right.
like openly, he actually said, we are okay with being martyrs. Like we're okay with dying, like
Right.
100%.
Well, again, just going back, we'll die to live. Our life is so important, spending time with our kids, our grandparents, giving charity, doing this, hanging out, giving, you know, just working, building. And unfortunately, that side, you know, they live to die because they think after they die, they're going to have a separate life and life begins at death. So they're encouraging this death cult, unfortunately, Hamas.
Yeah, it's definitely Hamas is an ideology for sure. It's very hard. It's not a land thing as much as I think as an ideology thing.
It's just replace the Jews.
Yeah.
That's it. It's in their charter. They want to kill us all, unfortunately.
Yeah. So a lot of people are scared to actually speak out the way you do, right? They're scared because of business. They're scared because of friendships. They're scared because of relationships, etc. You clearly have not cared about that and have gone forward anyways. First of all, have you lost friendships because of your outspokenness?
No, because everyone knows, you know, I love every type of person. I really do. I have friends that cross all religions, color, it doesn't matter. I think it's the side of righteousness. And most people, I know you have all those young students walking around and protesting. I think most people that I speak to, privately or publicly, tell me that they support Israel and they support humanity. BH, my wife came up with the other day, be human. You know, Baruch Hashem,
yeah.
BH, be human. Just be human. We're human. We love most Jews I know, they love everyone. They just want to live in peace. They don't want to be bothered. You know, you do you. I'm going to do what I got to do, and that's it.
What would you say to someone in the case where they are very politically, like business-wise, they would lose them relationships? You're obviously very big in business. That goes without saying.
Look, I think something like this is the biggest challenge of our generation. I was speaking the other day, and I looked around. I saw my mom, who is in her 70s, so she was the oldest person in the room. And I said, for all the Jews in this room, this is the toughest time we've ever had in my 53 years, and that person's 37 years or whatever. Like, this is the toughest time we've ever had in our life. If you're a Jew today, under 80, it's been the toughest month of your life.
Yeah, nothing's happened like this.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You know what? You have that feeling inside when you see these pictures, what you saw in Dagestan, what you see in England, what you see in France, even what you see in America. You see Columbia, Cooper Union, Harvard.
Colleges. What are your thoughts on the colleges? What is going on college campuses right now? I'm very curious to hear, because that's the younger generation. You have kids. You have four girls. What are your thoughts? I mean, it's pretty crazy. These people are mostly pro, like, for sure Palestinian.
They're not pro.
Obviously.
They're pro Hamas.
I mean, yes and no. They would say they're not.
Right.
So that's where it gets.
Well, they've equalized it.
Right.
Harvard came out with a statement, and I think the adults are very embarrassed. And I think some of the kids who are doing this should be embarrassed. They're taking the side of a death cult that would kill them, especially if they were gay. It doesn't matter, even if they're not. Even if they were a woman who wanted rights, they would kill them.
Right.
If you're not allowed to show your knee, you can't walk without you can't walk without a man in public. So all these things that are so anti-human rights, yet they're rallying against Israel. Israel is the most gay-friendly country, the most color. They took 40,000 Ethiopian Jews. They took 40,000 blacks and asked them come to our country because you're living in a really tough spot. No other country does that. Yeah. So Israel's the most loving country. 22% are Israeli Arab. The Israeli Arabs would never live under Palestinian rule. They love being in Israel.
Yeah. No, it's funny.
My friend posted something recently, which I thought like was a really, really good point, which is, and it sort of explains like what's been kind of going on college campuses and what's with like young American, mostly like white people like joining this cause, and some again, I would like to make a very big distinction between someone being pro-Palestine or even being pro-Palestinian liberation versus pro-Hamas. I think those are two very separate things. There's some blurring of lines after October 7th, but there's degradations, there's gradations. I mean, in the lines. But the post basically said that to a Western kid who is not a Jew and not Palestinian, they're just some Western kid. They're on a university. They're not seeing this as a war of people. They're not seeing this as conflict between people, real human beings like you and me. It's ideas. Right. And Israel represents an idea of colonialism to them, which is being taught on college campuses to look at the world through colonialism, which a lot of it is because of the Americans' own dealing with their own guilt at the fact that America was a colonial project that basically found some land and went, fuck off, it's ours now. We did that.
But America was never here before, so there has never been Palestinian rule
right,
in
no,
Israel.
I'm just explaining where they're coming from.
Colonial. The whole
where,
statement.
Where we're like
make
wondering
sense.
like where these like are like people walking around, are 22-year-old kids now evil? Are they like evil? Are they like Nazis? I don't think they're Nazis. I think they're ideologically possessed by ideas. They see a conflict. They're just seeing two ideas. They're seeing black and brown people, which they've been trained. Okay, they're being oppressed, and they're seeing what they see as a European colonial project being an oppressor. And now it's okay. Well, I know which one's the right side of this idea. And they're not seen as people.
50% of the Israeli Jews are black and brown, supposedly. 920,000 of them were ethnically cleansed from
Arab countries.
Yemen, Libya, Syria, Iraq. There was a Farhud in Iraq, which is a pogrom and there was constant riots against Jews. Iran. So 900,000+ Jews were ethnically cleansed. There's less than, I think there's 2 Jews in Syria, 0 in Iraq. In Yemen, there's a few. It's not like they even have thousands outside of Morocco. So they were all ethnically cleansed. That's where it happened. Right. And they went to Israel. So Israel is actually a nation of immigrants, of brown immigrants, at least half of them, who have settled in Israel. So it doesn't make sense.
And including
there's
everything.
Ethiopian Jews who are beautiful people. So it's such a multicultural. I think they can't handle that type of argument. So what do? They yell, they scream, they rip posters down. And this whole thing is... It's a very immature way of dealing with it, and you can't dialogue with them. They just scream.
I certainly see it as immature. I guess when I see things like this going on, I like to try to figure out what is actually going on in people's heads before just thinking, oh, you hate Jews or you're evil. Like, no, they're being taught. They're literally just like me and you, because we grew up Orthodox Jews, and we grew up with an ideology, and we do see the world painted a certain way. They're seeing the world pointed a certain way, and what the world needs more than ever is calm dialogue about the facts on the table, and not like screaming at each other. And social media right now is a dumpster fire.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. I mean, I think the short answer about college campuses is it's straight up far left liberalism that's just totally being crammed down kids' heads. That's throats. That's my personal opinion. I think that shows in every single thing. They're pro-lesbian, gay rights, and everything, but also anti-Israel. It's like what the fuck? Like
pink washing.
It's
called pink
absurd.
washing.
It's backwards.
Again, I will say that I think there's plenty I don't like about certain leftist agendas and certain things that, let's say, are being indoctrinated. But something I do think that like a basic thing that is being taught that these kids are on edge about is, I grew up thinking America is like literally a bunch of tzaddikim, which is the Hebrew word for righteous. Like, what do you mean? This is the best thing that ever happened. And it was a really good thing that happened.
Yeah, still is.
We also did do bad things. Like, we did kick people off their land. And there is a consciousness bubbling up right now in the world where it's like, America, the idea is really good. Let's just hope that we want to create a world where that isn't the idea. And then they are wrongfully transposing that idea elsewhere. But that's not a bad idea to back. To no longer kick people or kill people so that you can have
most people have done bad things. It's what you do after.
Right.
America
100%.
had the original sin of slavery. What did they do?
They made it better. Or they're trying to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now black people have rights, and Barack Obama was our president, and we treat everyone fairly. So, and if you're gay, lesbian, any color, any religion, you don't have that in some of these other countries. So America, definitely took land.
You can go
from
live wherever the fuck you want. If you don't like America, I promise you it will not be better.
America is the best country out there. It's
Correct.
The most,
To believe America is inherently evil because of something that happened 270 years ago
I don't think
No, but a lot of people think that. That's my point.
Do they?
Yes, 100%.
I have not seen that people think-
They're being taught that America has an inherently evil intent, and the basis of America being evil means it is evil today.
Zach, a lot of the people
That's what
who
they've been
hate
taught.
Israel today hate America. And America and Israel are the two most freedom-loving countries. And I'll give you another freedom-loving country, shockingly, Germany.
Germany is one of perhaps our biggest friend in Europe right now.
Exactly. So
They're doing They're doing repentance.
yeah.
Moving off an Israel topic, I'm actually going there, by the way, on Saturday night, so I'll give you a quick update when I
Okay.
get back. But also going to be visiting Sderot, the Kibbutzim. It's probably going to be very intense. But all right, real estate. That's really what I want to ask you about. And I think total
Pivot.
But I think a lot of people are tuning into this to hear Aaron Jungreis.
I don't know. I think
talk
Israel's
about-
the hot topic, but
But I think a lot of people want to hear about
real estate is not trending on Twitter right now.
No way.
It's definitely not trending on Twitter right now.
And it's not a good business to be in right now.
At all. So that's what I wanted to ask you. Current market. First of all, before we get to current market, could you just give a quick background to those watching? I know you were in insurance originally. Let's just start. Why did you leave insurance when you were young, right? How old were you when you
I was
started?
22 at the time.
Okay, you did it for how long?
9 months.
9 months. You left after 9 months. You're not a guy who gives up. Why did you leave after 9 months?
I didn't like selling to friends and family. I didn't like selling insurance to friends. I didn't
heard
like
that
calling
before.
friends and family, bugging them to buy. I just didn't like the feeling.
And that was a requirement.
Yeah.
Got it. It was a basic way to get
Feels
off the
like
ground.
Those were the
Gross.
only people I knew.
Right.
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 So-
So you started in real estate.
But I like dealing with people because prior to that, I sold ad space for the Jewish press. And I like selling. I like selling, dealing with people, but I did not like selling insurance to friends and family.
Got it. So why did you choose real estate after insurance?
Because I went to my cousin at the time. I have a cousin through marriage named Alan Gross, and he had a real estate firm. I tried to sell him insurance, and he said, I don't want to buy insurance, but why don't you try real estate? I had just gotten married a few months ago. I was 23, just had turned 23, and I figured for $500 a week, let me do it. And they paid me to cold call.
That was GFI.
Yeah.
I feel like GFI has is known for great brokers, starting with them and then leaving them.
I think Ralph Hertzko's a student of GFI. I am. They've had a good run of people come out of there. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
This is like one of those like secret schools where you find out like this school, like every actor in Hollywood went to this school. It's like
No,
all
Alan
the big
Gross
names.
is a good guy to learn from. He's good.
Yeah, no, it's just a known thing. Like all the big brokers a lot of them have
Yep.
went through GFI at some point. So what would you say the current market right now?
The current market is terrible. It is. It's terrible. It's terrible in New York. It's terrible in other states. We've started a few years ago. That's
Yeah.
how we met. We started working all over the U.S., and interest rates are killing everything. Taxes are going up. Insurance has tripled in some
yeah.
states, even quadrupled in some parts of Florida. So it's really hard to buy property now.
Would you say this is a worse market than 08?
Worse. Yeah, this is worse.
think
This is the
it's
worst
worse?
I've ever seen. Yeah, worse than 01 after 9/11, 08, the credit crisis. This is the worst I've ever seen. COVID, this is the worst ever.
COVID, interestingly, was pretty good right
But
after the
COVID
first
for a
year.
few months was
Yeah.
pretty bad. This is the worst I have ever seen.
But also, this has been going on now for a while.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like a 6-month thing.
Right. This is going on for about a year and a half. It started getting really bad about a year and a half ago, and it's been
August of
a slow drip. Yeah, maybe a
the
year and
last
4
deal.
months.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
We did a
That's
deal in
right.
August, and then it's just been.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How, if you could explain it to a layman, and I know very little about economics and real estate, when the real estate market is not doing well, is that because the economy is not doing well, or is the real estate market not doing well causing a cause of the economy to not do well?
No, I think the real estate market is separate, but it definitely is. It's tied into the economy in the sense if the economy is not doing well, usually people are suffering, right? Because they can't pay rent. Here, the economy is doing great. People are, but the rent is becoming too high, and they're taxing the landlords so much, especially in New York, that it's impossible to make money anymore.
I wanted to ask you, I came to Rosewood obviously because I had 4 deals in contract in 2019, June 19th, 2019, I believe that was the date. Cuomo passes the rent stabilization law, okay, which was obviously way worse than anyone ever imagined it could be. You opened up the national division 6 months later, etc. What are you seeing right now in New York? Like, what's the effect? What effect has that had?
Death and destruction. New York is the worst it's ever been. People are either walking away from the buildings or they don't want to buy anymore. There's no velocity. There's no fluidity. No one wants to do, unless it's a bargain or unless the seller is going to give them a mortgage, it's very hard to get a deal done. We're still doing deals. I'm selling some properties for banks. We're selling for people who are losing 80 to 90% of their investment. It's terrible. And I hate it. I hate that I have to be in the middle, but a lot of times that's what we're doing.
The interesting thing is I'm seeing even out of state right now, I'm seeing every deal that I see is a loan assumption with most of the equity being wiped out.
Right.
Most.
Right.
So, like, is this not across the board at this point? I feel like
it's across the board, but New York is special in how bad it is because
Really?
New York has rent laws that have been enacted. Maybe California has similar, which are impossible to make money. Like you can't really increase rents to a layman, right? You can't even increase rents on tenants, and if you have to evict them, it's almost impossible to evict them. The court's so tilted towards the tenants, so
Well, why?
it's not fair.
Right.
Look, I understand tenants. It's hard to pay rent. I get it. But it's gotten to a point where it's so tilted against the landlords that people don't want to buy anymore in New York, or unless it's a bargain.
What and what's the impetus for them raising the rents?
Well, as a landlord, you want to raise rents because you have to keep up with the rising expenses. If your taxes are going up 10% a year,
I mean, you're just trying to
insurance is going up 20%, and your income is going up 1 or 2%, it doesn't work.
Yeah, but also, if you're a landlord, your property is an investment. You just have to understand that landlords they're buying the property as an investment, which they want to make money. Right. It's just inherently. So if you take away any ability for someone to make money, they're not going to invest in fixing the property, which is what makes them allow, gets them more money, et cetera, the refinances with the bank. There's a lot of, if you can't raise rent, you can't refi. There's a lot of different factors, obviously. So you can refi, but you're not going to be able to build equity, more equity in the property.
So are you bored right now?
No.
How are you not bored?
Because I have a really punishing work ethic, so I'm always going to work. So even if I'm not doing anything, I'll do something tomorrow. So I'm still selling buildings, believe it or not.
So I wanted to ask you, can we talk? You're obviously very, very well known for your work ethic.
Yeah.
If someone is getting into the industry right now, there's a lot of probably 22, 23-year-olds who might be watching this, or even older, that have not had success yet. What do you think is the amount of time someone needs to be putting into real estate to have a fair expectation of having success?
Well, Malcolm Gladwell said 10,000 hours, right? You know the book, right?
Yeah.
No, but you have to really put in a lot of hours. Look, I always believed when I got in, I'm going there. So if I'm going there, why take a cigarette break or a lunch break or chill with my friends? I'm going there. So I just want to get there. And if I get knocked down, if I have a bad call or 100 bad calls, I know I'm going there. So it doesn't matter. Like I saw that when I was young. I knew I had to take care of my parents, help them out. So I knew I was getting there.
Do you think
so it didn't?
Yeah.
I think that definitely motivated me. But I don't know. I just always felt like if I know I'm going to succeed in something, why delay it? And
where was the knowledge? Where was the certainty that I know I'm going to succeed?
I don't know. I told that to my wife to convince her to marry me. So I don't know. She was like, "What am I doing with you?" It was like 11 dates, our typical, the way we grow up, 8, 11, whatever. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm selling life insurance." It wasn't even real estate. And I just said, "I'm telling you, I know I'm going to make it."
Some people,
and I sold her. Yeah, I was a good salesman then.
They say, well, WeWork just crashed, but they say I've read about Adam Newman's like same exact thing.
Yeah.
That he literally told his wife, he's like, "I don't think you understand. I'm going to be a billionaire." Like to her face, he had $0. Like,
and I married up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I know I did.
Well, yeah.
But look, when I got in, I started calling every day, and then as I realized I was on hold, I said, "Okay, let me have a second phone," because while I'm on hold, I could beep people. Remember the beep? You don't remember the beepers?
Nope.
I would beep someone to call me. And then I would start getting even bolder. I would actually call someone while someone was on hold if I knew it was going to be a short call. So then I started to realize I'm making a call while I'm still on hold. Then sometimes people started picking up. So then it became a problem where I was trying to do 2 phone calls at once. But even to this day, I'm always on. As I'm finishing up one call, I'm dialing another one.
Yeah, you did a demonstration for us off camera, like
Right.
literally how you make phone calls, and you got what?
Okay, for
It's
those-
about 8 seconds. No, you save about 8 seconds a minute on if you're as you're dialing someone and you're hanging up on someone else. You can save about 8 seconds, 480 seconds.
It's literally like The Pursuit of Happiness, the movie Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know if anyone
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
that movie,
yeah.
where he's dialing. He like one of the, in the script of the movie, they talk about this exact thing, how he was trying to save seconds.
It's 8 minutes an hour. And if you're working 12-hour days, 14-hour days, well, let's say 15-hour days, okay? Because that's really, it's
What are you
120
working every
minutes.
day, Eric?
Wait, that's 2 hours a day. 5? How many hours a week is that? 10. I just work 10 hours more than my competitor.
How many hours a day are you working on average?
Then or now?
Then let's start with then.
Then
Pre-success.
when I stayed up Thursday night and slept in the office or worked in the office, I would say it was close to 90.
A week.
Yeah. And again, I keep Shabbos, so 25 hours I'm not working, right? There's 168 hours in the week, right? Minus 143. So yeah, I would say.
Okay, quick thing for those who don't know. I've sat in his office and watched this happen in real time. First of all, Aaron, you do more than 2 phones sometimes, straight up. Aaron,
I used to try 3, and it's almost impossible.
No, I've seen you do 3.
Three.
You put someone on hold for 3
Right,
minutes. I need
right.
3 minutes. Hang on the line.
Right.
Like, and then you'll jump back.
Right, it's impolite though.
well.
So I don't do that anymore. I don't do that. I'm working probably 70 hours a week.
It's still a lot.
Not like I used to though.
No,
Not quite the retirement.
Yeah.
greatest story ever was, I still remember, I interviewed at Rosewood. This is a great story. I interviewed at Rosewood. When I walked in there, John Brody, who I love, great guy, he was the one who hired me. You came in to meet me because you come in to meet every single
I
one,
don't
right?
remember this, but okay.
I remember the story very clearly. We're in the Valley Stream office, and you asked me what was the last deal I closed. So I told you the last deal I closed, and it was like 6 or 7 months prior, because New York, it was the last deal I closed in New York, so nothing was happening for the following 6-7 months till you started National. New York went dead. National started like 6 months later. So I walked in at the beginning of National, and you said, which deal was it? I tell you the deal. You're like, oh, that was a 32 unit, 11 2 bedrooms, 21 1 bedrooms.
Oh my gosh.
This is the owner, and it's on the corner, correct? And I was like, okay, I don't remember. Like, when I went back and looked at it, it was accurate. So Aaron,
Do you have a?
I was gonna ask.
It's not. People always think if I have a photograph. I don't have a photographic memory. It just shows you I studied so hard. It's like when you learn that Gemara and you just keep learning it. I just learned every building. And that's really true. I don't have a photographic memory. People think I always do because I remember every number. But I don't. I remember a lot of numbers because I try to remember everything. And I remember a lot of buildings because I try to remember. But I'm constantly working on that.
Are you like quizzing yourself like on it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I would go every Sunday. I told you, I went every Sunday morning, 5 a.m. when the dealers are sleeping, and I would just hit the Bronx. I would hit 20 blocks at once, 30 blocks, till after about 6 months, I went every block. Same thing in Brooklyn, same thing in Manhattan, same thing in Queens. And after about 2 years, I knew every block, every building.
Did anyone ever try poaching you to work in their firms?
Yes.
Like well known, like a Newmark or whatever.
yeah, years ago when I was at GFI.
Turned it down.
Obviously.
No, I'm saying why.
Because I went from GFI to Rosewood.
Why
I don't know.
did
I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have that much confidence. I knew I was going to succeed, but when I didn't have that much confidence. I know that sounds crazy.
I'm asking why you didn't go to these other firms. Like, did any, like, not GFI, I'm talking about like more of a, like Marcus Milchap. They knew who you were. I
Yeah,
assume.
it was too institutional for me.
Oh,
You
that's
know I'm
awesome.
not. You
Yeah.
know.
No, for
You're
sure.
definitely not institutional.
No, no.
Most of the guys that work for me are not. I don't like to put people in a box. I always like to tell people, however you want to make money, or however much you want to call. If you want to come in at 10, as long as you're calling till 7 p.m., that's
Right.
cool. You know, you don't have to be there at 9 a.m., even though I think successful people come in on time, etc.
Okay. Do you think this, for people that are looking to get into the industry, do you think that you can, if you're not a naturally gifted person in this industry with cold calling, etc., do you think you could be successful based on learning, or is this you have it or you don't?
I think you have to be a people person. That's the first thing, yeah. And you don't have to be brilliant. I think that's why none of the guys who worked to me included, were ever an A+ student. We were
Right.
I was always in that middle, maybe top 20%, but I was never the top in my class, ever.
That's more of a book smart type of person. In
Yeah,
general.
but you know, high 80s, low 90s,
Yeah.
A-, B+. I don't think that's that important. I think it's really work ethic.
So you do think that it's so. Got it.
We never had a Harvard or Yale. Harvard today. My God, I wouldn't even want to have someone from Harvard today. But no, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to succeed in real estate. Look at all the guys we had.
Yeah,
Right. We didn't
no.
have. None of the guys.
I
were
dropped out of high
brilliant.
school, so I have
There
nothing.
you go. Right. Okay.
I don't have a diploma.
I dropped out of law school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I did.
I know a lot of guys also in general went through law school and don't do law, but are extremely successful. It's like such an interesting law specifically. I feel like has a lot
I
of
think
those.
that there's a type of guy. If you go to law school, you're already the type of person who is ambitious and wants to be successful because that's a very tough grind.
Yeah.
First 10 years are really tough. You're an ambitious guy. Period.
Aaron, here's my question: you're 50 plus years old, right? How 50?
I'm 53, man.
You're 53. You're still doing 70 hours a week.
Yeah, but not 90 or 100.
Aaron, most people are not doing 70 hours a week. It's incredible.
Really? Is that true?
You're asking the wrong
70
guy.
hours. Most people that are alive do not work 70 hours a week.
Sunday 4, Monday to Thursday about 13, 14, 56, 58, Friday 7. Yeah, mid 60s.
So here's my question: what is driving you to keep going at this level? You don't need the money, right? That much is clear. What is driving you at this point to keep going?
First of all, we always need the money because we have kids and you want to give more charity. But also, you want I always want to be like number one. I do. I still want to be.
Yeah.
Once I'm up, not up there, but once you're up there with, people who are greater than you, you always want to try to
Hit next level.
It's competition.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's about
I
personal.
still
drive.
want to score 30 points a game.
You're right.
Okay, in layman's terms, I want to hit 3 homers. I want to score 30. I want to score 3 goals, and I want to be the star of the team.
You have a ridiculous. You're competition.
Did you play sports?
Yeah, I did. I was pretty good for a 5'6" Jewish kid. I was pretty good. Not great, but I was very good.
A 5'6" Jewish kid amongst other 5'6" Jewish kids.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting because competition, especially nowadays, it sometimes gets confused for like not being a good thing, like competitive, like intense
Yes,
competitive
that's
drive.
true.
It can breed certain dick-like qualities,
Right.
But it doesn't
could.
have to.
Doesn't have to. Yeah.
No, and I'm a sports fan too. I love sports.
You have courtside seats then. That's right.
I had courtside for the Nets. I had. I
You never
just gave
invited.
it
You
up.
never gave me tickets.
I never did.
Did you give it up because of things you didn't like about the team, or you just gave it up because you gave it up?
No, I gave it up. The Israel thing really set me back. October 7th really.
October 7th.
Yeah, that set me back.
Oh, are you like right now more involved
can't-
with Israel because of October? I know you went there. Like,
Yes.
moving forward, what are you doing now?
I've always been very involved, but I'm more than ever.
In what sense? What are you doing?
Just going to every rally, trying to help out every organization, just tweeting. I can't believe I'm even tweeting here and there a couple of times, responding, trying to get people to understand the situation of Israel.
You're going
the
Tuesday,
Masav.
right? I assume.
When?
Do you know about the
I'm
rally on
going.
Tuesday?
Of course I'm
yeah,
going.
of course
Yeah,
you're
I'm
going.
going.
Obviously.
Right. Like even that, like you have to go.
Yeah.
I think everyone has to
Yeah,
go.
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
But look, I think it's also, I'm the second half, right? Third or early third quarter of the basketball game right now,
Yeah,
53. I got to make sure I'm counted and I did something, and I feel like I have to do something. I have to, like with Kyrie, the same thing.
Oh, that, yeah.
Can we, I would like to bring that up because I don't know all the details, but like, can we start from the beginning? Like, what happened there? What's between you and Kyrie?
I love him. I mean, I love all the NBA players. I wish them, great careers. I thought what he posted a year ago was not nice.
Right.
It was pretty anti-Semitic.
What was it again?
It was a movie that was really just denying our history.
Okay.
And no one was doing anything about it. And so I just had my 2 seats. I got 2 seats near me, and we got the 4 people near us to have a silent protest, very dignified, not screaming. And we just had fight anti-Semitism. And the NBA wasn't doing anything about it.
No, they're not.
But once it was on screen and everyone was talking about it, and it got his attention, he came over to us in the middle of the game, and everyone realized we have to talk about it now because it's there. And
So
it was
you made the conversation happen, basically.
yes.
You forced the conversation.
and seeing, in my opinion, seeing my daughter, my son-in-law, all these nice Jewish boys and girls, calm, beautiful kids, just showing that.
you guys you were wearing T-shirts, right? And
just
it said
T-shirts.
fight. It spelled out
8 people in a row with a T-shirt. Yeah, it got everyone's attention, and I
certainly
think,
did.
Yeah, and I think the Nets realized that you can't throw it under the rug, and it was
Did you end up having a civil conversation with Kyrie about it?
at the game. Yeah, very civil.
What did he say to you?
He said, "I see you guys are coming out. A lot of people tonight. Well, you have a lot of people coming tonight.
That was it.
Something like that. I see you came out in droves. Yeah, we came out.
He didn't apologize, nothing.
No, he
The
didn't
words
have
I
to.
see you came out in droves is not. It's civil, but it's not the nicest thing.
No, I told him. We, even though you hate us, we love you.
Oh, you said that?
Always,
That's very nice.
Always. I love everyone. I really do.
Yeah.
I hope people could see that in Israel too. Like just the Jewish people, are all peace loving.
It's interesting. They just, I don't know, in one stadium very recently, someone who has a box there, a suite, it was a congressman or a senator or something, had an Israeli-American flag that they put there. I don't know
I
if
was
you
at
saw
the
this.
Eagles game.
It was at the Eagles
Yeah,
game.
I think it was
and,
George Norcross. Yeah.
And they freaking kicked
don't
him
know.
out of the stadium.
Yeah, I know.
Or made him take down the flag for sure. And Scariest scored it.
Now I
That's
really
crazy.
don't like the Eagles because I'm a Dallas fan.
Yeah. that's wild to me. By the way, it's so funny because I have that exact same flag in my house, and I went to the Giants game with Saquon Barkley's family, and I was going to pull it out if the moment presented itself, and it was about to present itself because Saquon, it was 4 minutes left, and it was a tie game, and Saquon was at the 6-yard line, which was obvious moment to give it to him to run it in, and the place would have gone nuts. And he fumbled the ball at the 4. So yeah, that was.
Oh, that's awkward. You were with his family when he fumbled the bag.
He had a touchdown though also in the game. So.
Okay.
But yeah, he did.
Well, I wanted to ask you: did this strong sort of stance, not just stance, but a willingness to do something about anti-Semitism? Where did that start? Did that start with the Kyrie thing, or in your youth?
It started growing up. I mean, my father was on the Kastner train. It was a famous train that the Satmar Rebbe was on.
Train?
Probably survived.
Yeah, they were bought by the
no idea what you're
Swiss
talking about.
government. Okay, there were 1,685 Jews. I'll give the cliff notes who were ransomed by the Germans. This was at the end of the war. They needed money, so the Swiss government gave them $5 million at the time. It was a lot of money. In that time, till the money came, they put them in Bergen-Belsen in the barracks. I guess if the money wouldn't have come in, they would have been killed, of course, like they did to everyone. The money came in. They put them on a train. It was called a Kastner train because the guy who arranged it was the head of the Hungary Jewish Federation in Hungary at the time. And his name was Rezo Kastner.
And your father?
My father was on the train. He was in the camps at 4 and 5 years old. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, right? Crazy.
Crazy.
I know. And my aunt was on the train, my uncle, and their parents. So that's why it's rare that a father, a mother, and 3 kids survive.
Right.
So that's on my father's side. So I heard about that my whole life. About,
So you know what? I was going to ask. I was going to be like, oh, what anti-Semitism did you encounter in your youth? And growing up in the Five Towns, it's you're literally your parents and your uncles.
I grew up in Canarsie. I didn't grow up in the Five Towns.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So did
Canarsie
you?
is
But
much-
he's bringing
But
up
what I'm bringing out
that,
the point is that you didn't need something to happen to you. You grew up
Right.
with people who
Of course.
experienced the worst it has ever been. That's
right, and my
crazy.
mother also had, even though my mother was born in Prague after the war, but her parents also survived.
I love Prague. Have you been to Prague?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what they did to Jews, so I can't
gorgeous.
speak on that particular point. But
Hey,
it
man,
is
Berlin's
fucking
fun.
gorgeous. That I'm not trying to make jokes about that,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying Prague itself. I was there twice now in the last year. Downtown Prague with Chabadis. By the way, the Chabad, big shout out. I love that Chabad. They're freaking fantastic. But it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful place.
Europe in general is very beautiful.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Sure.
Look, I was in Hungary. I was in Hungary for Yom Kippur in Budapest
Oh, really?
years ago. Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting? I spent 2 weeks in Berlin in my early 20s, and you know, a language that I kept hearing walking down the street is Hebrew. There are so many Israelis, like
Right.
we were saying,
Yeah. Look,
Things have changed here.
They did such bad things, but they really are. You never know. Maybe now they really see the error of their ways. They've been unbelievable for Israel.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the
Unbelievable.
day, you condemn evil where you see it, but the second you hate someone, on both sides, you hate the Germans, or if you hate a Jew, if you hate anyone for something that their grandparents did that has nothing to do with them,
Like America.
then you're on the wrong side of things.
Right.
That's just
Same idea.
people get a clean slate.
Yeah,
People get a
for
clean
sure,
slate.
Yeah. Okay, back to the real estate thing because I know we jumped back to
We're
Israel.
doing
which I
a
didn't wanna
little
do. No,
ping
no.
pong right now.
Question though, could you give me? I want to hear your thoughts, tips on end of a deal. Right, you bring in a deal, okay, which a lot of people could do. You hustle, you make a lot of phone calls, but I would argue the end of a deal, negotiating terms and a price, and executing the final 5 to 10%, bringing it to the end zone is probably the hardest part of a deal. Would you agree with that, first of all?
I think bringing in a good deal is the hardest part.
Well, in that case, I'm extremely good at that. So
Okay.
I'm good at the art about.
No, because once it's a good deal, you could sell it. Getting someone to convincing someone that it's pays for you to give them the deal is the hardest thing, in my opinion.
Especially off market, you're
Right,
saying. Yeah,
exactly.
no, I hear that. No, I'm just, yeah.
And once you get it, if you really believe it's good, you should be able to sell it to someone. But a lot of times people can't do that. Like they get it and they can't make the case of why it's a good deal.
And so what's your opinion on
And
that?
historically, I know this sounds crazy, but this is true. If I don't like a deal, I don't work on it.
Oh, really?
So I'll get 10 in one day, and I'll look at 8 of them and say, I can't make sense of this. So I'll work on the 2 that I know make sense. So a lot of people will try to work on everything because they'll think they'll be able to convince someone, and once in a while you will. But then
with the
what?
time.
Then they're going to remember that you sold them a crappy deal. So usually I'm going to work on something that I believe in.
Tell me your thoughts on this. I always say the number one, not the number one, but a huge difference between a great broker and an okay broker is a great broker understands off the bat what is a deal worth working on and what is a deal worth pushing to the side because you're going to waste your time if you focus. Time is your greatest resource.
Yeah.
So if you're spending time focusing on a deal that's not realistic, and like people come to me like, oh, here's this deal. I'm like, okay, there's a 4 cap. We're in a market with, he's like, oh, but this, but that, but that. I'm like, you're wasting your fucking time. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, go find a deal go make another 150 phone calls. Yeah. Right. What's your opinion on the amount of time you're focused on just like right away within 15 minutes figuring out in the back of
If
napkin?
I think it's good, I'm going to work on it the whole time. But you have to understand, you miss one thing. The connection. You have to connect with your clients. You have to connect with the seller so that they have faith in you, and you have to connect with the buyer. And if you connect with them enough, it's like empathy equals control. One of my old friends told me years ago. If you know what that means, or if you don't know what that means, right? Sympathy is, I sympathize with you. I know your father passed away. I really feel bad. Empathy is, I know your father passed away. My father also passed away. And so I really feel bad. And I feel your pain.
Right.
And when you empathize with the client enough, a buyer, and you say, I know what it is to spend all that money and how hard it is to do it, then they say, wow, this guy really feels it. And I know that extra $50,000 is going to hurt. And the same thing with the seller. If you could empathize with the seller and say, I know it's hard to sell. You've had it for 10 years. You worked it. You took it from 10 million to it's worth 20 million now. I know it's hard to sell, but it's the right move. Like, there's also a lot of times you're telling people not to do a deal. I've told people, don't sell it now. And they remember that, and they'll come back a year later.
Right.
And say, you know what? I remember you told me not to. Now's a good time. So if you empathize with them, you really feel it, they're going to always work with you. And I'm always getting repeat business.
You would say that you're very good at building trust with clients.
Yeah. Look, my daughters got married. I would say I had 7 or 8 tables of just clients who have become my friends. They're my friends now.
So that's what I want to ask you. Are you quality or quantity? Meaning, you obviously have your 15 people, right? That will live and die.
You always have that 10 or 15 people that you call right away when you get a deal, because you know they respond and you know that they're junkies. And I'm a junkie, right? But no, I still have a deeper bench that I can go to. Always using the sports references, but I can't help it. But yeah, I have a deeper bench, and then you go to that second level of people. But yeah, it's that 10 or 15 core guys that you're going to do most of your deals with. 100%.
If someone doesn't close first deal, let's say you're dealing with them, right?
Right.
You want real buyers, obviously. That's always your number one question.
Yeah.
I remember, are these people real?
Yeah.
That was, you get on the phone with me, are they real?
Because I wasted my first few years with people who weren't real, and it took me such a long time. Sometimes I wonder, should I be telling my brokers, like, you're wasting your time, or let them fall
Figure
and
it
make a
out.
mistake? Right?
Yeah. What are your thoughts actually on that now?
The latter. I let them
make the
fall.
mistake.
Yeah.
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 It's like a kid. It's like
It's
dealing with a
hard,
child.
and I know the guy's wasting time, and I'm watching it, but I know. And then he comes to me after and says, "Oh, why didn't you tell me?" I said, "Now you understand why." So you have to sometimes let someone fall.
Nothing's like experience.
Yeah, but I don't want them to fall as much as I did, and I let them fall a few times, but not 50 times
And
like I
eventually
felt.
you're just like,
Yeah, because then I feel bad. I don't want to do that.
So for someone right now, bottom line, wants to get in the industry right now, right? There's a 22-year-old kid watching this. He wants to make a lot of money, and he wants to be a top broker. What would you? Is now the wrong time?
I would say go into private equity.
Really
Yeah, right now, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Not real estate. Maybe in 6 months it'll change. That not real estate.
What
not
type
now.
of private equity specifically?
I don't know that field. That's for the smart people.
Right.
Oh, for the hustler? For the hustler, I know people like cash advance, but
Yeah. What's your thoughts on cash advance?
I don't know.
I gotta hear your take.
He's got to give a diplomatic.
No,
take.
tell me. I want to hear Aaron.
I don't want to make money off of people like that. I think it's a little tough.
Got it.
Yeah. I'd rather have someone come up to me in a restaurant, which always happens, and says, "Hey, you sold me 5 out of the 7 buildings I own, or 15 out of the 25 buildings," and they're so happy. And I sold them their first building, and I sold them half of their portfolio.
You're saying for the most part you're helping them make money.
Yeah, I don't think on the cash advance side you're furthering people's career. Sometimes they say, these people need the money and they're helping them, but I think it's...
Well, that's certainly what they say inside the office.
Yeah, I think real estate, most people who I've known, they're much wealthier than when I met them. So
Yeah.
part of the reason is because I sold them a lot of buildings.
I hear that.
Even though today with values where they are,
it's hard.
maybe not.
But you didn't try it. Yeah, but you can't know what the hell's gonna happen.
If you were barred from ever working real estate in New York City again, what would you do with your time?
I would work in the other states, which I do now.
Okay. Ever.
you're not
You
barred.
can't work in
real-
real estate.
If I couldn't work in real estate, I would help my brothers and sisters all day. I love.
You think
my
you'd become
people.
like a full-time like activist, philanthropist? like
Yeah, I would.
Jewish stuff.
Yeah, and spend time with my kids and my grandkids. That's the most
Well,
important.
the
thing.
obvious question is, how do you balance that?
I don't know if I balance it that well. I've always been trying to work on that.
You
No,
did
I
call
really-
yourself a junkie earlier in this.
Yeah, I know.
I appreciate
But
it.
I happen to have an unbelievable wife. Excuse me. who I love hanging out with. In fact, tonight, right after I'm hanging out with her, we're going to go to dinner or something.
Can I come with?
Label.
No, it's Thursday night. It's date night.
You know
Aaron,
what
that's
your
a joke.
date night needs is label wiener.
Yeah, I know. And
Spice
I
things
have
up.
I have the 4 coolest girls, and I have 3 son-in-laws who I like. I actually think I have 7 kids right now.
That's
So I have
unbelievable.
4 girls, and I'm so close to my son-in-laws. I speak to them anywhere
they're all
from
married?
1 to 10 times a day. I have got 1 daughter who's single. I've got 3 married, and I've got 3 unbelievable son-in-laws, and my daughters are the coolest kids. Not because they're mine, I know. Ask around the Jungreis girls.
No.
You'll know.
Do you remember when we were on that flight, back from Alabama? That
yeah.
was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
But this is how. By the way, can I say the story? This is how you know Aaron, how much Aaron loves his kids. We're on this flight back, flying private, okay, whatever. It was with the client. Anyway, so we're on the Alabama. In that area, there were no airports. So it was either you fly to like a main airport in Alabama, you drive like 5-6 hours, or like just practically. The only way it made sense without sleeping over was going back and forth. So whatever. Went with this client. We went to this deal. And on the way back, we didn't know this. Well, there was crazy turbulence. Like, Aaron,
I thought I was going to die.
that was the craziest turbulence. I'm not joking. We hit the
No,
ceiling
there was
multiple times.
there was a hurricane.
Oh, you hit the ceiling?
Yeah.
There was a hurricane. Yes.
And not only
hit
that,
the
we
ceiling.
stopped in Cleveland
Yes.
because
Not
they were.
cool.
We were saying we have to get out when we were there. Like, Aaron was like, "Oh yeah,
They
there's supposed to
stopped
be a
in
storm."
Cleveland because they left the fuel.
Oh, that's
on
the
the
worst
tank
part of the
open.
story.
So we had to land in Cleveland, and then after Cleveland, we took off, and it was I think it was
Listen,
a
No, so
hurricane.
when we got, we didn't realize how bad it was going to be.
Yes.
Either way, Aaron's daughter.
I can deal with turbulence, but landing in Cleveland, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry that happened.
Oh, your
It's from-
hometown.
yeah. So, anyways, we come into New York, into Teterboro, at like 7 p.m. It's pitch black, and it was so intense. And Aaron's daughter was there, and very sweet girl. She had with her tail on. Probably saved us, honestly.
Yeah.
And I remember as we're flying, Aaron, you were looking at me, and you're like, you were looking at me like, you said this after when we landed, but you were like, I don't care about, like, I could tell you, like, I don't care about me. Like, this is not about me right now. Like, we need to land safely now because I have my daughter, here. I thought that was incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
I told people that I was very, very touched by how, that
That was one of the scariest moments of my life.
It was, right?
I was terrified. I was
remember.
watching my daughter
Yeah.
say Tehillim, and I was looking at that face, and I said, I can't. It was killing me.
Yeah. That was, I'm not kidding. That was
Yeah.
probably the scariest moment of my life. I've never felt that out of not in control in
Yeah.
my entire life.
And I remember looking at you. We weren't even talking. I just remember
Silent.
Yeah.
20 minutes of dead silence. Yeah, just everyone just holding on to their chairs, just quiet. It was extremely intense.
Okay.
Whatever. That was
Downer.
that. Moving on.
Label promised to become a rabbi and drop real estate.
No, that is not what happened. I promised to start podcasts and drop F-bombs all over them. That was exactly my next
This
move.
podcast thing worked out pretty good for you.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, but
see how it plays out.
Dershowitz, Matisyahu.
none of us thought it would be this and what it's been already. A year ago, it was a joke in his kitchen.
Yeah. There was definitely not much going on.
Who are you going for right now? Who's like the biggest guy you could get? That's attainable. I don't think you're getting Adam
actually say
Sandler,
so.
or you're not getting
Adam Sandler is the dream guest.
Right.
That is the one-day
Yeah,
dream
that's
guest.
that's too far.
or Jerry Seinfeld. There's no way.
No.
Right.
First of all, those guys haven't been on anyone's
Right.
podcast ever.
Okay.
Has Adam Sandler been on a podcast in his life?
He has been on what's his
Maybe
face?
Rogan?
No. The most serious radio. Who am I thinking of? The most famous radio host in the world.
Rogan.
He's kind of a schmuck.
Who?
The Jewish guy.
Ben
Howard
Sh-
Stern.
Oh,
He
Howard
does Howard
Stern.
Stern. He does Howard Stern.
Howard Stern was great. Something happened. Maybe it was
Well,
COVID.
He's gross. That's what happened.
he got a little out of, I don't know,
In what sense?
just some of the politics.
Yeah, no, he became a big time leftist at this point. He used to do.
I'm a leftist, but he's definitely not the same.
He went from being the nicest guy, like the most PC person in the world. Well, he went from being the most not PC
Un-PC,
to
yeah.
becoming the most PC. I mean, it's basically what happened. And now he's like lecturing everyone on like what you're able to say on there and not. When he had like women, we're not gonna get into his.
What he used to. Anyways, so more attainable. I mean, we're running after a comedian right now that we really want. We want Ari Shaffir, just because
But that's attainable. To
that's
me.
it's very
pretty
attainable.
funny.
We've It's not just that he's pretty funny; it's that he comes from our world.
Right.
He went to the yeshiva. He just put out a special called Jew. And I mean, you saw it?
I saw it.
Unreal. I
Yeah.
mean, he's whipping out jokes about Bava Basra, like about like specific tractates in the Talmud. So we'd love to have him on.
I thought some of it was. I don't like when people make too much fun. Where,
He's not a
where
proud-
you make
You're like
us
me,
look
Aaron.
backward. Yeah, I don't like. I don't
Yeah.
ever like when people make Jews.
No,
look
he's not a
backward.
To be
Modi.
fair, he makes fun of everyone.
Right, but Modi is. or Elon Gold. Those guys are.
Yeah,
So
I don't find him as
I'll
funny.
tell you
though.
straight. So I'm much more focused, honestly, in the non-Jewish world. Like, I
Okay.
don't care about anyone in the Jewish world, just from the standpoint of like, I just,
Well, if you can get Chris Rock or something like that, that would be amazing.
That's a little far out.
Okay.
you know, I'm just saying, like, first of all, just from the most connected right now from the political end. Just simple. I had Laura Trump on. There's definitely angles there. I mean, the
He
situation
speaks
is
to
crazy.
Barack Obama like daily.
No, I do not speak to Barack.
He's been very disappointing over the last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what's the big deal? He's just saying that there's a little bit of equivalency.
Yeah. Anyone who
Yeah.
equalizes what happened, it's impossible. That's a dead end conversation. Chappelle also. I used to love Chappelle.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Yeah. It's
hard-
hard. Also, I love Chappelle. Like, I loved. It's so hard to make sense of those people that you love to death. He has a joke about this, actually, Chappelle. He literally says about that he loved. Who's the guy? Bill Cosby. He's like, I loved Bill Cosby till I found out that he raped 52 women. It's like, but that was like finding out chocolate ice cream raped 52 women. But I love chocolate ice cream. Like, that was his whole bit. It's like, honestly, with him, it's the same thing. Like, I loved him, but like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's very. There's a lot of like, honestly, in my opinion, most of it comes down to people just not knowing the facts. Like, they just
Yeah.
misinformed.
We
on
are
it.
not loved.
Extremely-
We are really not loved. It really bothers me.
I think I was telling someone last night at the end of
See, a lot of people, they say, oh, anti-Semite doesn't bother me. They're always going to hate us. I think they probably will always hate us, but it bothers me because I know the kishkas. I know the insides of the people I know, Hasidish, Reform, Conservative, and they're all about loving everyone. And yes, there's always a few bad apples,
Yeah.
but you ever walk down the street and get beat up by 3 Jews? When does
Right.
that happen,
Yeah.
right? Do we rape people? What do we do?
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
We
it's-
invent, we
what's
create,
interesting?
we build, we give charity.
Yeah,
who started
it's-
human
it's-
rights? Who get Nobel Peace Prizes? So I hate this one-sided.
I also think a big factor of this is that it might be. I mean, listen, there's 15 million Jews in the world. We are the smallest minority, probably, and we are ridiculously proportionally successful, like disgustingly, like almost that it totally makes sense why people have conspiracy theories. Like it.
I think there are smaller minorities, but
not that.
in proportion to size, we're probably the most.
Successful.
We are probably the most
Probably,
successful.
I don't think it's probable. Who's even in
No,
the
I know.
same conversation?
You're right.
By any stretch of anything.
right.
I mean, we had so in every industry. So
I
it's
think
very
some of it
easy.
is jealousy. I think some of it just is misunderstanding, and I think some of it is some just pure hate.
There's something that's been very interesting is for a while now on Twitter, I follow anti-Semites on Twitter. I like to keep my thumb on what's going on. What are they thinking?
You debate them?
No, so far I've been silent, honestly. Like I don't want to get some of these
It's also a
guys.
dead
Some,
end argument. Like, what do you?
no, also some of these guys, they know how to dox you. They'll figure out where you live. Like I'm a little bit wary of that. So I just watch from a distance, and it has been so almost comical if it wasn't sad to watch recently how people who I've been following for a year or two because they are just straight up anti-Semitic. A lot of some of them are also crazy white supremacists and they want like a white ethno state. They want to kick out the minorities out of America. All of a sudden, pro-Palestine. Pro-Palestine, baby. It's like,
Right.
all right. Slow down there, KKK. You're not pro-Palestine. You found a good bandwagon for your Jew. You found a vehicle for your Jew hatred.
No, for sure. That is a lot. Something. It used to be not okay. Right now, it's an open season for anyone that hates Jews that couldn't publicly talk about it before to come out and talk.
I will temper this conversation a tiny bit, and maybe you'll disagree. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have seen a lot of very pro-Palestinian people who have been very, very unequivocal that this is not about being anti-Jewish, not being anti-Semitic. I've seen that from Americans. I've seen that from Palestinians. I have.
I don't believe the distinction.
Okay,
between
What is another conversation to have with that is criticism of Israel inherently anti-Semitic, and that's a conversation. But I'm not seeing people being like, I'm pro attacking Jews in the streets.
I have never heard of a country that is questioned like Israel.
Yeah, of
Can you
course,
imagine
not close.
someone saying, I like espresso, I like Pavarotti, and I like pizza, but Italy shouldn't have a country?
Yeah.
What is that, crazy? Who would say that? Italy, of course, Italy is a country. Italy will always be a country. That's our homeland. We want to go back to it. We're in our homeland. Only Israel gets questioned, should they exist?
I mean, the UN resolution
Right?
since Israel's
Think about it.
establishment.
Why only Israel? I think about. I got you now. I see you thinking because you see on
No,
on
I've
the Italy
obviously
thing,
pondered
now
this thought.
You're starting to realize. So we're always questioned about our existence. It's our homeland, and there are 21 or
you know,
22
by the way?
Arab countries around the Israeli country, right, and where the Palestinians reside. If they had any guts or any generosity, they would open up the borders and say, "Hey guys, come live here." Israel has one place, and they've been kicked out of every other Arab country. So they have one place left. It's crazy. Give us this steep, rocky, hilly, crappy land. There's no natural resources there. Let us have it. And they're going to build it and make it beautiful, which is what they're doing. So
okay,
it's one.
Let me think out loud here. Let me think out loud for a second.
Sure.
And again, with pure humbleness, I'm not well reached in this, but if Italy's not an ethno state, I mean, Italy's not it's Italian, but it's not. There's no religion called Italian. If the idea of Israel existing is to have a Jewish state that the government is controlled by Jews, then not every country gets that.
It's not controlled only by Jews.
Right.
There's Israeli Arabs in parliament.
Right. So the question is, I think something I've seen people say is like, basically,
There are Druze, there are Christians, there are
Basically,
Israeli Arabs who are Muslims.
Why shouldn't everyone why can't there be an Arab majority in Israel? Is that what your question is?
Not an Arab majority. Okay, so recently I saw someone saying like I'm pro one state solution. The one state should be called Palestine. And so someone wrote back immediately and wrote, "Oh, so you're just gonna kick out the Jews?" Like, what do you mean? No, the Jews stay.
They tried that in 2005.
It's called the British Mandate.
No, but in
I think that's
2005
exactly
they
what it was.
pulled out of Gaza and they said, you know what, you take
No,
it.
but these
Forget
people,
about that.
but
It was
these
the British
people are-
Mandate. That's
but these-
exactly how
but
it
these
was.
people are anti the British Mandate. Meaning they don't consider British God. They're like the British.
No, but that's what it was. Britain was just ruling it. But what it was Arabs and Jews living together. Do you know the amount of terrorism? They walked to Hebron and massacred 100 people.
Zach, it's such a famous statement. When you love your kids, right, more than you hate us,
The Golda Meir.
then there'll be peace. Or
Yeah.
I'll forgive you, even though it's hard, I'll forgive you for killing my child. But I won't forgive you for making me kill yours. But that's true because we're so not violent. The violent.
Did you see the video, by the way? Israel's tanks literally protecting the corridor today,
course.
letting all the Palestinians leave. Now,
And they
if you're-
use them as
if
human
you're-
shields.
Honestly, the people that don't like Israel will be like, oh, they're making them leave. And you could also look at it like, yeah, there are terrorists literally that have tunnels that they literally came up out of the ground and walked into villages and pillaged people. And Israel has to go get rid of them. And what they're doing is allowing civilians to live. They're protecting Gaza. It's protecting them to allow them to walk out. No army in the world would ever do such a thing, ever.
Zach, they gave them the land in 2005. They withdrew. They gave them greenhouses, cherry tomatoes, all these type of plants that they were able to produce and export and make money. They killed the greenhouses.
They burned everything.
They destroyed the shuls, the synagogues, and they haven't done anything. All these years they took billions
They
of
did a lot.
dollars.
They built a lot of tunnels.
Instead of building up, what do? They build down. Can you imagine what the rot? It's disgusting. That's what they did with all that money. They built war tunnels instead of building up mosques, hospitals, schools, education centers. They've had almost 20 years to make a country out of it. And all they want to do is lob rockets and hate Israel. And if you teach your kids to hate Jews when they're babies, that's what's going to happen. So you need a whole new generation to re-educate. It's so one-sided. One side hates and the other side doesn't. It's like we live on two houses, right, next door to each other, and you just keep coming to my property, and I keep saying I could kill you in a second, but I don't want to, so I just push you, and you just cut me, and then you come with a gun. Eventually, that's what happened.
Yeah.
There's
Anyways.
no alternative. There's no alternative. Every Jew I know wants peace. I don't see it on the other side.
Do you not believe
in
that
Gaza.
there are Palestinians that want peace?
I believe there are. I believe there are, but it's not the majority, because if it was, then that's what would take over. Just like America is not a racist country anymore. You know why? Because the majority spoke and they said, we're not racist. If we were, like in the 1800s, then that would be, all those laws would still be there. So America spoke. So I'm waiting for the Palestinians
Well, they
to
haven't had
speak.
an election. In fairness, they haven't had an election.
Right. I think
I
this
mean,
is
their
an important-
government they're
Okay.
victims of their government. I think a lot of them.
Yeah, but even
Which that doesn't help them. I'm saying like,
even
that doesn't change
even
the conversation.
Fatah in the West Bank is pro-Hamas, and they don't want to have an election
yeah.
because they're nervous
No,
that
but,
Hamas is
but
going to win.
is what's his name part of Abbas is not part of.
Abbas is part of Fatah.
Is that the same? Wait a second, I'm confused. That's one of the same as the Palestinian. Isn't he the head of the PA?
Yeah, but that's a separate party from Hamas. They're
Because he hasn't
more
held an election.
moderate, so
Right.
to speak. Even though he's a Holocaust denier.
Oh, he is.
That's
right.
that's our
true.
neighbor, a Holocaust
Yeah.
denier.
No,
That's
he
great.
is. Anyways, I feel like we're all over the place here with
Yeah,
between
I know.
Israel and real estate.
Sorry,
All right,
guys.
No, it's fine.
Hey, we said we were going to talk about two
Yeah.
things. We didn't say
It's
in
a
what order.
podcast. I'm
Here's how we
here.
go. Okay, I want to know what's your daily schedule. You wake up what time?
I wake up, I would say, in the 6 to 6:45 range. Matters what I did the night
Gross.
before. Yeah, I know.
What happens from there?
I get up. I daven quickly. I then get to work.
You're at work
Are
8
you a
a.m.?
coffee, Red Bull?
8 to 9.
Coffee, Red Bull, cocaine.
Coffee and apple cider vinegar with blood orange juice and lemon.
What?
Yeah.
Aaron, did you ever have your days of anything more than coffee? Keep it going? Heavy Adderall?
I used to take Adderall Thursday nights. Yeah, to stay up through the night. I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
What are you doing from 12? Here's my question. 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. What are you doing?
Then?
Yes.
So first of all, then we would leave messages because it was in the 90s and I would leave a lot of messages on people's machines. I would email them. I would email and I would analyze deals because I in the day, when the fax days, I would actually call people. I didn't have the time to take the fax and go to the fax machine. So I would have like 100 papers of people I would call, and I would write down, send this guy
Right.
Preston Avenue, send this guy East 25th Street.
And then do it.
And then at the end of the day, when there was no other phone calls, I would just take the pile, 100 papers, fax it, because that was time when I had the time to do it. I didn't have to be on the phone.
Is there ever a reason to?
I don't waste a second. I really don't waste a second. Even when I was learning in yeshiva for 2 years in Nair, I rarely wasted a second. I went to Nair Israel for 2 years.
You were learning, when you said didn't waste a second, just learning all day?
Yeah. I wasn't
Really?
great at it. So if I wasn't great at it, I didn't want to continue.
But you like learned while you were there.
Yeah, for the first year, really, like I never stopped. Yeah,
You got the work ethic down.
right. I wanted to be, like a Rosh Yeshiva, and then I realized that
Really?
I don't know. I was too into girls, and I wanted to make money, and I just I
Many-
knew I
many
couldn't.
a
I knew I
future-
couldn't be great at that, and once I knew I couldn't be great, I just said forget it.
Many a future great Jewish leader was toppled by his own desire for girls.
You one time told me something very, very interesting that I think affects a lot of people in any cold calling space or any deal space.
Yeah.
That is what the correct way of handling a failed deal is when it fails, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to share.
I can't believe all this stuff sticks with the guys, but that's
I mean, with everyone else, I don't know.
Wow.
I remember I could
Yeah,
go
yeah, I
one thing
see.
after the next.
I see.
Of course.
yeah.
So could you share for everyone here? I do remember what you said, but I want you to share.
What did I say? Let's see if you remember.
You said to me that in the very beginning, it was very, very difficult for you. And to get, you would leave the office even sometimes, like
Yeah.
a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And as time went on, you got more and more effective at,
Right.
to the point where you even when you stop smoking, you just, you used to take a cigarette break for 5 minutes and then get right back to it. And then when you stop
Right.
smoking, you just never left.
Right.
You just continued like
Right.
nothing
So
happened.
yeah, if I had a bad call or a deal fell apart and it was 3:35, I would just leave for the day, or I would take a walk around the corner, or like you said, have a cigarette break with the guys in the office because most brokers smoke. Then it became like a 10-minute break where I would just go to the kitchen and have something to eat or a coffee. Then it became a 5-minute break where I would just be upset, talk about it, and then it went from literally 30 seconds, and this is a deal you're working on a year,
Right.
to 20 seconds to zero, because I had another call. So when a deal I was working on for months, because I know sometimes people leave for a week and they talk about it, it took me to recover a millisecond. Literally, it's true.
And that's
Can
where
you
you are
can
right
you
now.
enter us into
yeah,
that
and that's
mindset?
where because I know it's
How
all
do you
meant
get
to
to
be,
that?
because it's meant to be. Whatever I'm doing, whatever my hishtadlut, right, whatever I'm putting in is going to, whatever comes out, comes out. So I'm going to just work like a beast. I'm going to put in a 16-hour day. I'm going to make 217 calls or whatever it is, 150, 200, whatever I
Yeah.
do a day. And whatever happens at the end of the day, that's when I'm going to pick my head up.
Right.
So
Just see where the dust settles.
right. So if I waste 10 seconds or a minute, I'm going to be so upset at 9:33 when I make my last call. Why did I waste time from 3:30 to 3:40? Why did I take 10 minutes for what? Because now I'm not upset about it.
So how would you tell someone to speed up that process? You're making it seem like to get to the point where you are now, it took a bunch of years, clearly. What would you say to speed someone up? What's the actual, is there any actual method, or it's just, you got to go through it?
I don't know. I think you have to go through it.
It is.
Yeah, I think you have to go through it because when it happens that first time, it's like when a girl breaks up with you or something. I mean, you can't just move on, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I think also there's an angle to this that the harder you work, the more, like you're saying, the more deals you have. So it makes it a little easier.
Right.
Because when you're working on one thing too much and you're busy with that one deal and not moving on to other deals or bringing in other deals.
Right.
Right.
This was a big thing that I realized, by the way. One of my biggest mistakes that I made as a broker, when I'm not really doing it so much at this current second, but was that I would spend too much time, I would get in a deal, I knew it was sellable, and I would spend, at the end of the day, too much time on that one deal. And I wasn't you have to constantly be making those calls and
Always.
keeping the flow up.
Right.
Because then when you work on a deal that you've been working on for a week and not doing anything else, and that deal falls through after 7 days, you're
Right.
left with literally
Right.
shit. So, and that's where I think it gets so difficult to recover and
Right.
takes all that time.
And that's why I have the two phones, and I'm constantly working on so many things because I know as many balls are up in the
Right.
air, some are going to fall no matter what.
Yeah.
So I want to have a few at least that are up in the air.
Right. No, that makes so much
Random
sense.
question, but are there other, first of all, are you one of those people that invest in like interesting company? Like do you invest in any like companies or things that you think are going to pop?
Private equity type stuff.
Tech, yeah. Why
Yeah.
not?
Is
I have
there
so many
anything-
friends who are
Is
in
there
these
anything
other
you're
businesses.
interested in right now? Anything that you think people should be putting their money into, or just something that you think is
Mislabeled.
promising?
It's so
Other than us,
it's
yeah.
so fashionable now. AI, right? Everyone's doing that. Anything that's tech related. Yeah, I'm not that good when it comes
Have
to.
you used AI yet? Have you used any of the stuff?
No, but I've seen people who do.
It's weird.
I know.
Sometimes
It's crazy.
It's uncanny.
That's actually a great conversation.
unnerving.
That was in my brain. What's your thoughts on technology within real estate? Like all the different softwares and stuff. Like I know we've spoken briefly about it when I was by you.
So for me, I'm that older generation. I got away without using technology. I could barely use CoStar, which is like the software that everyone uses. And I still have in New York the books, which have the list of all the owners. And I've sort of memorized it, but I can't even go on some of these softwares to see who owns it. I think I know almost every owner anyway in my head. But yeah, I think technology is so important for real estate.
You do.
For young people, yes. For me, no, not anymore. I'm one of the last guys left.
So I'm very curious about this because whenever to me, it's the amount of touches you get in a day, and I always felt with technology, it slowed the hell down of things. That's how I felt. It's flow. You need flow.
Exactly.
Like, your biggest when I watched you on the phone doing push-ups with 3 phones around you, literally, it was about bam, 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 call, touch, touch, touch. And
Right.
if you get in 300 touches, you have a better odds of
Yeah.
closing something than if you get in 299.
Right.
So whenever I see like real estate, it's like
at
inputting
Zach,
like this,
he's
and
yawning.
Zach is falling apart. Yeah,
no, I'm fascinated by real estate.
You want to talk music, Zach?
I do.
Zach is a huge music guy.
I love all types of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been listening to lately?
Lately, my kids have gotten me into like Yishai Ribo and Omer and Hanan Ben Ari, but I love
Jewish music
Yeah,
guy?
but I also love hip hop. And my kids are into hip hop too.
You are not the
so-
only real estate person I've met who loves hip hop. There's a big marriage between it's that New York energy.
And classic 70s.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then
sure.
of course Shweki and but no, all types. I love, I know it's embarrassing. I love Barbra Streisand too.
That's not embarrassing.
Yeah. But I love,
I'm a big Jewish music
Springsteen
guy.
and Elton John, Billy Joel.
Yeah.
All
Zach
types.
is,
Really
do
all
you,
types.
Do you consider yourself like New York is such a romantic the real estate New York guy. That's like the romanticized New York. Do you consider yourself like very New York? Do you love Manhattan?
I am. I love the culture
You love
of
it.
New York. In fact,
You
I
love
always
walking
tell
down the
people,
avenue.
I always
always-
ask him this.
I always tell people, what do I love the most about New York? I love the Russians in Brighton, the Chinese in Chinatown,
Yeah.
the gays in the Village, the blacks in Harlem, the Dominicans in Washington Heights, the liberal Jews
culture.
in the Upper West,
Yeah.
right? And the Bangladeshis in Elmhurst. And to me, that
and whatever
is-
the fuck is going on in Queens.
Queens is the United Nations. But
It's literally
my point
every-
is,
yeah.
right, and the Muslims in Bay Ridge. My point is, I love everyone.
Yeah.
I wish they would all just get along.
Honestly, New York, New York seems kind of chill right now.
Really? At colleges, Columbia,
Yeah.
NYU,
that's
Cooper
true.
Union.
Right. Yeah. In
Come
the
on,
past
man.
month.
No.
At the end of the day, I used to ask you all the time, like, well, Aaron, why the hell are you going into the city for work every day? Like, what's wrong? You're sitting in an hour and
I
change
love
of
the
traffic.
city. I love it.
You were telling me, like, I don't know.
Come on, because you're surrounded by the
Energy,
energy, the
Broadway,
buildings.
Central Park, tall buildings.
Are
Great
you a big like
restaurants.
phone call in Central Park guy?
No, I'm a big phone call at my desk guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I just like to sit at my desk and make calls. And I like interacting with my guys. You know what I mean? I like sitting with them. So
I have a totally different topic, by the way, I want to discuss that I know he will love, which he
Okay.
doesn't know, and I'm thinking about this now. I know you're a big proponent of therapy.
yeah, I think it's important. Very important. 100%.
That probably was not around when you were growing
No,
up.
was gonna say,
it
late bloomer to
wasn't.
it?
But I know from talking to you and from talking to so many people who've gone to therapy how important it is, how it helps them. But there's a clear line if you start to blame your parents for everything or don't take responsibility. That's different. But I know so many people who've gone to therapy and have grown and it's helped them. I think it's so important. Family therapy, drug therapy, any type. But I think the only part I don't like is when people start to blame their parents or they start not to take responsibility.
Yeah, you
So-
definitely at some point, at least in my
You have to
opinion,
get
there has
over
to-
it.
There has to be a point where you take accountability,
Right,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fun. Yeah, whatever. I have a whole take on this particular thing.
Are there things you do for your mental health? like on a daily basis or on a weekly? Like,
Yeah, I know, right? That's people always
I mean,
ask me
listen,
about
you're
that.
used to winning. Let's call it what it is. You're used to winning, but like even someone who's used to like mental health issues happen. You know, there are gonna be maybe family stuff, whatever it is. Like, what's something you do to like tune up?
So I used to play Miss Pac-Man,
I was
but
not expecting that answer.
I used to play it, and then I used to have like that basketball shot in my house, which I played. I think I got the second highest score ever. I think so, but I don't know.
In the world.
Yeah, I was following an Asian guy who got like a
Oh my God.
162, and I was like in the 157.
There will always be an Asian
158.
guy who is better
Yeah,
than you. Always.
he was doing two hands, and I was doing one with my left. Sometimes I could never beat him. And after about 6 months, I couldn't beat him, and I have that same thing in my
Yeah.
basement. And the same
I'm trying
thing
to
on this
imagine
Pac-Man.
if you had used your work ethic. Obviously, you used it for a pretty good. You know, you made some money, you may have had some success, and changed some, other people's lives.
A little
But
success,
just imagine this work ethic. Like, you know what Dance Dance Revolution is like at the mall, that game where you. I'm trying to imagine sticking him in
Dance Dance
other.
Revolution. You know.
Oh
that.
yes, of
Just
course.
imagine
yes,
you
yes.
use
Tom
that-
Hanks, right? In the
Take your obsession and just the funniest place you could have. You could have been. I don't know.
It's funny.
Do you ever play music? Do you ever play an instrument?
no.
That's what I was going to tell Zach.
I bet if you retired tomorrow and picked up guitar, you'd be touring with John Mayer in 10
No,
years.
I like to sing, but I'm not.
Oh
musical.
yeah. I saw someone sent me a video of you singing, and I'd known you already for 2.5, 3 years, and I
Well,
was like, "What?"
little known fact, I was also from 19 to 23. I was a rabbi in a shul.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God.
What does that
That
do with
young?
singing? You're saying you were.
No,
you
I'm saying I
were
like
davening.
to daven. I like to lane. I still lane here and there.
Who gave you a rabbi job at 19?
Well, I don't and never did have smicha, but my
Right.
father and my uncle and my cousins were all, and I wanted to make money. I did it to make money.
Right.
But
That's
I knew how to
hilarious.
lane. I knew how to daven. I knew how to speak
you give
Yiddish.
speeches?
Yes, I did. I spoke.
even like a.
Yeah, I would open up the midrash
sermon.
says. I would give a little sermon to
That's
my
so
people,
cute.
and I would.
What was your? I know we're getting to this late, but what was your childhood like in regards to money when you were growing up?
we weren't
was nothing
wealthy
there.
at all.
Right.
I would say not poor, but a level above,
Probably
in
like my
between
family.
poor and middle class.
I like my family.
Are you a middle?
Was I?
I think so.
I had 10 kids. I have 9 siblings. My father's a rabbi. Where's middle?
Yeah.
I'm saying, how much money do you need nowadays if you have 10 kids?
Today it's
Several
impossible.
What's the
million.
number? Tell me what you think.
10 kids. I think you have to make $500,000 a year at minimum.
Okay, fine. So I can
Just to
assure you,
get
I can
by.
assure you, my
No,
parents
that
were
was
not
different. That was
anywhere
I know that
close.
was in the 90s though.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
different. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still. I could still assure you it was significantly.
I grew up thinking I was poor, and then it took me a few years into adulthood to realize that I grew up very, very solidly middle class.
No, my family was. We were covered. We were good. It just wasn't like we had what we needed. That was
Right.
where it ended. What we needed. So but that was fine. That wasn't. I wasn't like. That's not where my drive. I don't think for making money or like being successful comes
Right.
from. I think like. You just want to be competitive. You have a competitive part of you that it doesn't make a difference. You could, I feel like, grown up with a lot of money. Even though people say, do you feel that way? That people grow up with a silver spoon?
But look at you. You're trying to make it in the podcast world, and you're making it, right? You went from it was a gig and just fun, and now you're really trying to get there. So once you're doing it, you want to be great.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
and anyone who says that, I always say I have no pride, but I have an ego, right? I have
Right.
no pride. I'll do any deal. I'll do it for any commission because why not? I'm making money. But everyone has an ego. So you want to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And so once I'm doing something, whether I'm being a rabbi in a shul in Sheepshead Bay, or I'm learning in yeshiva, or I'm working in real estate,
best.
or even when I'm laning, when I have to prepare, I make sure I don't want to make mistakes. 'Cause
Right.
why should you?
Right.
So my point is, everything you're doing, you want to be great.
Yeah.
You want to have 100,000 listeners, right?
100%,
That's why you're doing it.
100%.
Anything worth doing is worth doing
Right.
well.
Exactly. So
All right. There you go. Couple
And-
quick fire
yeah,
rapid
fire.
questions
Yeah.
over here. Okay, and then we'll wrap. Aaron, you're answering these.
no
Okay.
problem. I'm answering everything.
How much have you closed over the entirety of your career to date?
How many buildings or?
Both deal size and buildings, meaning how much
So
aggregate.
okay,
deal
so
size
buildings. Sometimes I'll sell a 50 building package, right? That's one deal, or is that?
No, yeah. Well, how much? No, I'm asking the total amount.
Let's
of
get a
buildings.
dollar amount.
Yeah, dollar amount.
I would say, and this is selling, not worth, not net worth. That's what. Because one time someone put me on one of these Instagram things or videos worth 2.2 billion. I had sold 2.2 billion of real estate that year. That's very different.
Right.
I'm just a little middleman. That's it.
No, I'm asking like that. Again, you did that. I'm asking that
So-
times how many years? 2.2
Okay,
billion.
I didn't
what's
do
the
that
number?
every year. Some years were
what's the
500,
entire-
some years were 3. I would say about 30 billion.
30 billion
About.
And how many buildings would you say
About,
it was?
I would say it's over three. I know it's over 3,000. I know that because it was a few years ago, over 3,000. I don't really count, and I've never once counted at the end of the year how much I made exactly. I stopped doing that years ago, but I know it's over 3,000 buildings.
Biggest deal ever closed?
I think it was like 380 million. I never
380?
did I never did $1 billion deal. or
Here in New
anything.
York?
Yeah, in New York. Yeah, almost all till 2020. I was all
Yeah,
New York.
yeah, for sure.
A little Florida, but all.
I don't think anyone was brokering out of
Right,
state. That was a
you're right.
phenomenon that you and John came
Right.
up with. I mean, all right, biggest commission ever.
That's. I don't want to answer that.
Come on, Aaron, give it to me.
I don't know if I should answer.
Aaron,
that.
let's go. You don't have to say which deal. You don't have to say with who.
Nah, I know, but I don't want to. Nah.
I'll cut it.
I think that's one. You could keep it, but I'm not going to answer.
I know the
Sorry.
answer.
Where-
I know
wherever
the
the
answer.
camera is. Okay.
I know the answer. I'm not going to say, obviously, whatever. I'll get mine next. You're not going to answer this question if you didn't ask that question. How much was the most you made in your best year of income to date?
Oh, I can't answer that either.
Aaron, you're killing me.
These are certainly considered rude questions.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Okay, fine. But real talk, Aaron. Anything else? I think we're wrapped.
What is something you would like to tell young people right now? All young people, not just the ones who are trying to go into real estate, just young people who are, they look at the world seems scary, adult world seems scary, and many different ways. Like, what would you want to say to young people?
Are we talking to young Jewish people, or I love everyone,
Two
but
separate things. Let's do just young people.
Young people, I would say, honor your parents, honor your grandparents. I mean this. This is the most important thing in the world. Give charity and remember where you come from. I mean, that to me is the most important thing. And really just honor and treasure your parents. And
You're really a
grandparents.
family person.
Yeah, my parents are so special. My father is not here. My mother is unbelievable. And my in-laws, they're just unbelievable people. My in-laws, my parents, my grandparents were like just, I don't know, different level. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know if as you get older, you become greater, or they were the greatest generation. They say that generation was the greatest, but my grandparents and parents were like just saints. They met. I mean it. Like, that's real.
Right. And what would you say for...
And my sibling, by the way, my siblings also. I have 4 siblings.
You have a brother that learns,
Brother
right?
in Queens, and I have
He's a
3
brother called Chaim, by the way.
Yeah.
Learns
My
all day.
brother is a tzaddik, and I have 3 sisters who are like just, they're unbelievable. They're selfless. Yeah, really. And my wife, again, I always go back to her, but I would never be able, and that's another thing. Yeah, pick wisely when it comes to a wife. I picked once, and that's the deal I ever did.
Really?
I said, you know what, I'm 22. I got married at 23, but I was 22. And you know this term. I said, I'm going straight to contract, hard deposit, no engineering, no environmental.
I've tried that before. It
No
hasn't
due
always worked out for
diligence,
me.
straight to close. Right?
100%. When you find
Find
That's
it.
Label's opening line on JSwipe is straight to close. When are we
Right.
getting married? Let's go.
when you know that it's there.
Yeah, I knew I was never getting better, so I'm like,
Right.
22, it doesn't matter. I'm getting married.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah,
sounds like
she's
you got
great.
lucky.
I did.
Yeah.
It's not a joke. Women, the right women will literally make a man. Like a guy, if the wrong one could just plummet his life, the right one could literally take him
And what
to
would
a
I say to
different-
Jews, young Jews? Because I would say all the same, but unfortunately, you have to always be aware that there are people out there who want your downfall. Not everyone, but try to be a light. And I mean that, try to be a light. Like whenever I have my yarmulke on especially, I make sure I'm opening the door for someone. I make sure I'm helping someone. Not that if I didn't have it on, I would act differently.
So
but
important to do that, yeah.
I think when you do have it on, it's sort of like an extra light shining on you, and you've got to have it reflect back. So I think it's important.
You never know what someone who is not Jewish is thinking.
Yeah,
like
of
simple.
course.
Like you walk into a Dunkin' Donuts, there's a person right behind you, 3 steps behind you. Hold the freaking door.
Right.
Aaron, I really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
I've learned a lot from you, really.
Thank you.
And anyone that I don't know if you're bringing people onto Rosewood, I have no idea. But anyone who has the opportunity to work for Aaron,
We're still looking for someone good.
I want COO, or I don't want anything at all.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to work hard at it, and you never know. Maybe it could happen.
Okay. By the way, guys, I'll tell you one thing. Aaron knows talent when he sees talent. So if you do show up to his office or reach out to him and you're persistent and you seem like you know what's up, he'll probably give you a shot. So, Aaron, thanks so much for coming on. I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you very
Guys,
much.
to
You're
the next
welcome.
episode.
Much love to all of
Much
you.
love to
Thank
everyone.
you.
Peace, love.
Thank you.